The other thing to say is feel free to add any questions to the chat as you go along. You can, if you've not found it already, the chat looks like a little speech bubble with a few lines in it at the bottom of your screen, and I'll keep an eye on that and kind of put any questions to Sally when it gets to kind of good points in her talk to do that. Also, unfortunately, we don't have time to go through and kind of introduce ourselves separately, although that would be brilliant. But we've only got kind of 35 minutes for this session. But do feel free to put who you are and where you come from and your job role into the chat. That would be really useful for us and also just for sharing with each other. I think that's everything. But yeah, do put any questions in the chat, and anything that we can't pick up on in this 35 minutes we'll write up, and hopefully Sally can answer any questions afterwards, and we'll send that out to all of you. So I think that's everything. I'll hand over to Sally now for a really useful session on how to use the local offer to respond to COVID-19.
Lovely, thank you, Saskia. Hi everybody. Sorry I can't see you all, but hopefully you can all hear me. As Saskia explained, I'm more than happy to answer questions if we don't have time to do it now, to take them away after session and come back to you possibly with a more detailed answer. So don't be shy. So my name's Sally Tittle and I am the SEND Participation and Engagement Lead for Wirral Council. I'm delighted, absolutely delighted to be asked to speak with you today. Got loads of content to get through. You'll probably struggle to shut me up because I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm going to be joined this afternoon in the session by two of my colleagues, Celine Wakerley and also Poppy Kane, equally passionate about what they do. So hopefully you'll find it useful. And as I say, if we can help in any way during or after the event, all three of us are very happy to do so. So to the matter in hand, and the title of this session, how to use or using the local offer during COVID-19 to respond to COVID-19. Once lockdown hit, because let's be honest, nobody kind of saw it coming or the impact it was going to have on us all, I sat down, put my strategic hat on, and I started to scribble down, to brainstorm and to scribble down some random words. And the 6 I came up with were, well, keeping in touch, connect, engage, anticipate, inform, and co-produce. And then out of these 6 verbs, if you like, I grew Wirral's local offer response to COVID-19. We are a team of 2 looking after the local offer. Poppy and myself look after the day-to-day running of the local offer website and the associated social media. So we don't have a great deal of resource, and it's important for us to be as creative as we can and as effective as we can be with what we have. So to run through what we've done, in the hope that it might shed some light or spread a bit of good practice for you guys. First and foremost, I decided to put together, I don't like the word newsletter because I think it's overdone, so I called my newsletter a SEND Snapshot. And I did a COVID edition of the SEND Snapshot. We're on edition 5 now. And the idea being that we have got an up-to-date snapshot as to the current state of play within all SEND support services and how we've had to adapt under lockdown, so that our audience, which initially was going to be the audience of practitioners and professionals in the school setting, so primarily SENCOs, so they knew at any given time what the state of play was, who they could contact, point of liaison, and they weren't left hanging basically. So we're on edition 5 now. We started with 13 contributors, and the last one that was published ended up with 42 contributors. So it has grown into quite a beast of a newsletter. But that's a good thing, right? Because we've got more people wanting to be involved. Personally, I'm thrilled because whilst I wouldn't wish a pandemic on anybody, we've never thrived so much. We've never had such fantastic engagement. I think sometimes these situations, the desperation, the unended concept of a pandemic, the uncertainty, I think it forces us to refocus, and that's certainly the experience that we've had here in Wirral. So the Send Snapshot basically is just that. Each service contributes. It needn't be War and Peace, but it definitely is a point of contact. It's definitely a named person. It's an outline of what is and isn't able to happen. I've done it every fortnight. It's got to 3 weeks now because frankly I do nothing but send snapshots with 42 contributors, but it's grown. People have got to hear about it, people have wanted to buy into it, and that's fabulous. Because it was so well received by the professionals, we also decided to do, and perhaps we should have thought of this straight away, a parent carer version. And so the parent carer version is similar, but sometimes the information that we're putting in a professional document is points of referral for Senko's, for example. So it's a slightly slimmed down version, but we run the two parallel, and the contributors send me contributions for the professional audience and then separately for the parent caring young people edition. So that has been fantastic. It's a lot of work, but it's paying great dividends. Enquiries, emails, that sense of wonderment, that helplessness seems to have been completely eradicated from our fabulous Senkos. They've been able to have some online training that I've sourced for them. Some has counted towards their continual professional development, but they've been very keen to be as well placed as possible to support the children and the family during lockdown, and also in preparation for what's happening now as we see the transition back in to the educational settings. So that's been a key thing that we have done through the local offer. We created a COVID-19 support section, I think it was week 1 of lockdown, because we were finding that we were getting so much good stuff sent us, again, born out of this sense of British camaraderie, whatever you want to call it, that I didn't want it just to get lost within the main body of the website. So a COVID-19 support section, which is one click off the main menu, very easy to be accessed, is now got daily content going into it, and we've been discerning as to what we put in there, because there's a lot of repetition, there's a lot of similar information coming about. We've tried to pick and choose, so we've got the best stuff in there, and by best stuff I mean for our audience. So easy read documentation, for example, we've worked hard to source that and make sure that everything that's in there is in a language that our audience will be able to assimilate and to be able to understand without any need for follow-up questions. Poppy, who you'll hear from shortly, has devised a twice weekly blog. We didn't have anything like that before, but again, trying to keep things as informal as possible to help with this two-way communication, and we found that that's been a really useful thing to do. Our social media, we've not really been able or been in a position to market it effectively. Resources, as in marketing budgets, haven't been particularly forthcoming. So anything we have done has been through word of mouth to date. But that said, our engagement through social media is up 30%. We spend at least half an hour a day adding new content to our Facebook and Twitter pages. And as with all social media things, if the content you're putting on is resonating, is deemed to be useful, then the followers mushroom, don't they? So we're really chuffed, because that's 30% more people now spreading the word of the local offer, when there's still so much work to be done to make people aware of what it is and what it's there to do and how they can get the most out of it. So we're dead chuffed with that. We've been invited to, and we haven't said no to anything. We've been delighted at the invitations to attend virtual coffee mornings, for example, hosted by parent carer, peer-led support groups. And again, these are all things that we've had an awareness of, but maybe in the normal world, we just haven't had capacity to attend. And by attending and prioritising attending these things, it's opened so many doors. It's given us so many new, absolutely fantastic, really exciting new networking connections. So much so that we've got parents who are offering to be local offer champions and to spread the word and to have tweets within these smaller isolated groups to try and help us spread the word. So that's been really nice. Obviously, to be able to hear firsthand how they and their young families are managing through the pandemic has put us in the front line of being able to feed that back to somebody who can help, if not us, and to be able to be proactive and to react, because we're literally hearing it straight from them. Something which we should be doing anyway, but again, it doesn't always happen.
Have we just lost Sally there? I don't know if that's just me.
No, I've lost everyone.
Yeah.
Is everyone here?
Oh, she's
Sally's
back. Fantastic. You're on mute now, Sally, I think. You disappeared, but now you're on mute.
Okay.
Great, you're back.
Can you hear me? No idea, Celine, what happened there, but I'm back. 3, 2, 1, back in the room. Where were we? Coffee mornings. Yeah, so we've done that, and we've reaped the benefit from that. And again, it's set us in good place post-COVID, because we're now regulars on the invite list. We behaved, so we've been invited back. I think possibly for our health colleagues in the room today, I don't know if you'll be able to pick up from the broad grin on my face when I say this next segment, but I have found it difficult at times to engage with our health colleagues. Fabulous relationship with our DCO, but I've not always enjoyed a wider buy-in from health colleagues, not for any sinister reason, but again, just the wheels of everything keep turning too fast. So delighted that 42 contributors is about 20 deep in health services. They have invited me along to their virtual team meeting. I have their buy-in now. They want a piece of it, not now, but going forward, and to build on that. Their content is coming through, and rich content is coming through for the local offer website, not just for the Send Snapshot. And that's a real feather in our cap, because that's an audience or stakeholders that we've never been overly successful in working alongside. And we now have a commitment from the top people to the foot soldiers, who all say exactly the same thing that I do, and we all want to work together. So that is going to be a great legacy, if you like, from this pandemic. So along with health engagement, third sector engagement, I'm really chuffed to say, again, we're playing a supportive role, they're playing a supportive role. So pooling our resources, keeping those lines of communication open, them sharing the offer that they're able to provide to our Send families during lockdown, has been really phenomenal, actually. We've got some great organisations, as I'm sure you have in your areas, often undervalued, often under-tapped into, but not during COVID, very much appreciated. I started to do, it's a little bit twee, but it's again working really well. On a Friday on our social media feed, I award a Friday Partnership Award. And that's to recognise a group or an organisation or a service, maybe an individual, who's worked really effectively with us, that we've benefited from their support. Perhaps it's mutual support, but it's a nice way to recognise and thank people and let them know how much we appreciate people working with us. So that has been really well received, and that's simply a few lines on Twitter. an image of an award that I obviously change the wording every Friday, but it's a little bit like kids at school, you know, they're all sort of like vying for pole position to win that partnership award, and it seems to mean a great deal to people who perhaps don't always get a pat on the back and receive that recognition. So we'll definitely be continuing with that post-COVID. Highlight of the week for me is a Tuesday night. You'll hear a bit more about this from Celine, but we meet with our Send Youth Voice group. Celine again will tell you more about that shortly. We have a recognised group of young SEND people, and as soon as I came into post I was aware of them and I thought I want to be involved in that, and we meet with them online on a Tuesday night, 3 separate age groups, and just to be able to tune in, to see their faces, for them to have some continuity in the professionals that they deal with, for them to have the opportunity to talk, and when I'm asking if I can help in any way or any way we can support, for them to be comfortable to do so. To open up the avenue for their parents or carers to be able to jump on screen and relay a concern. It means I can get to it in a timely manner and stop it from becoming a big issue. So that has been something, I think from week 1, Celine will tell you, we've been able to do to engage with that audience. And I think probably we've been able to tap into some of those young people who perhaps don't like to do the face-to-face, come down to the arts theatre and do face-to-face engagement, or maybe their parents haven't got capacity to bring them or make a regular commitment to sit them in front of a computer and help them to connect. We've seen some new faces and we've welcomed them, and I do hope that that continues in some guise once lockdown restrictions are eased. We also set up a dedicated email address. This is new to us. Because I was a team of 1 for quite some time, everybody would just email me directly. Now we have a local offer email address which we've promoted so that parents, so that professionals, if they like, can use it. And it's nice that they feel that they're contacting an establishment rather than perhaps just an individual, a service. And I think they maybe have a bit more confidence in that. Feels a little bit more corporate, a little bit more formal. And we monitor that daily. And again, because it's primarily worried mums and dads, worried about transition back into school at this stage, we've been able to engage with them, to have them speak to educational psychologists, to put plans in place, to speak to their settings, to arrange early visits when those children are back in education. And again, it's that anticipation, it's that timely reaction to things rather than allowing things to fester. I think that's been particularly useful, to be honest. Conscious of time, I don't want to take up the whole session because I could do. I think just to summarise the impact of what we've done. So engagement, as I say, up 30%, that fantastic joined up working with our health colleagues. The less email traffic from SENCOs because they feel comfortable, updated and informed. And the fact that they, whilst they've been at periods at home, maybe if they've been shielding or they've not been required in school, that they've been able to progress their training. A lot of our SENCOs are quite new to post, feel quite vulnerable and certainly feel the responsibility on their shoulders. It's such a key role. So for them to feel comfortable makes me feel good because I know the pressure that they're under. We've managed to establish really meaningful rapport with several parent carer groups, which has got to be a good thing because we're getting some diversity in our parent carer feedback. The kids are still connected, our Send Youth Voice kids are still connected. As I say, to be able to reach out and tap into a whole new audience, those that are happy to hide behind the camera but would still like to be involved. Again, that's what it's all about, trying to increase the engagement. And the parent carers, as I say, have had a direct access route into make queries, raise concerns, often to manage their levels of anxiety whilst they're trying to manage their children's level of anxiety. So it's kind of been a rounded approach to the delivery of what the local offer is there to do, and we've really enjoyed. It's felt good. It's felt like we're winning, and we can't always say that. And I wouldn't say any of it is rocket science, but it's born out of those 6 verbs that I started with, plus input from my colleague Poppy, who comes at things from a different perspective to me. She's coming at it from a young person's perspective. So obviously a big part of what we do is working with the young people. And I'd like to just hand you over now to Celine, my colleague Celine, who works frontline with these young people, just so she can talk to you a little bit more about what we've done together and how it works effectively. Okay, Celine.
Hello. Hello everyone. So yeah, my role is basically participation and engagement for young people in Wirral. So effectively the way I actually do that is via creative arts. So we use many different formats to try and capture the young people's voice, and we normally do our usual bog standard youth voice conferences, but what we found was young people with disabilities were getting lost amongst those discussions, and their issues were obviously a lot different to other young people. So we wanted to give them a space. And when I first met Sally on the local offer, part of this coming to the COVID part was that because we actually met and decided that put in a SEND conference for young people where the group would work and look at the issues, but they would then actually host their issues to professionals. So Sally would bring the professionals together that were relevant, and the young people would obviously raise their issues. And this process over the past few years has helped the group really get established and really capture their voice for the borough, and that's been invaluable. And I think that came into its own during COVID-19 because those young people have had so much background work and support done with them via our service as a youth service, via creative practice. So what we do is we instill those young people with self-esteem, confidence, resilience, bring a belief to them that actually that there's a place for them to actually come, have a voice and be heard. This has been really key. So as soon as COVID hit, Sally and me got together and were basically, what are we going to do with this group? So effectively, we thought the first thing we need to do was obviously hear their fears. So with the help of Poppy, who is a young person who came to my group and has a story of her own to tell you all, through that process, we've been able, with that group of young people, to feed into the council the key issues of COVID-19 for disabled young people. And within that process, we've been able, with Sally's support, to address any of those key issues happening for those young people. So we've had a homeless young person, we've had a domestic issue with a young person, we've had carer issues around a young person's needs, and these things have been able to be picked up. We've had technology poverty, we've had general fears, but having that group, so the fact we did this prior to COVID, and the fact Sally tapped into the informal education sector, has meant that that's been an invaluable process, because a lot of young people are lost in the informal education sector. They're the young disabled people who are excluded from school, left out. They may be struggling with social anxiety, so they can't engage in school or activities. So with that process, the informal education and linking this group is actually meant through the group, through the local office support, through what they're getting as a young person in their growth, but what they're getting from Sally's co-supporters local offer has meant those young people have been able to re-engage into education. So we've had win after win after win. So it's, as COVID-19 hit, they were able to inform the council that we need a young person's child helpline. They hosted and helped on the Liverpool City Region Metro Mayor conversation for young people around COVID-19 and the issues and concerns around disability. So we've had many things happening in the background, which the young people have been able to engage with and develop, and they're still in the background developing on during COVID-19. So the good foothold we did the few years prior without knowing has become a good practice structure. So I think on that note, as part of that good practice structure is obviously introducing the lovely Poppy, who will tell you how her journey was and how and where she's got to where she is, which is absolutely brilliant. So I'll hand over to Poppy.
Hi everyone, so I'm Poppy. As you've heard, I'm the Wirral's local offer works very close in partnership with Wirral Send Youth Voice Group, and by doing so, some great things have happening. Take my case for example. School was tricky for me, and I started to shut down from the world. I was selective mute from the age of 7 to 18. In high school, I slipped through the net as I didn't have a statement, meaning I didn't get support for my needs. I worked hard to overcome the barriers in place from my hidden disabilities and left high school with 10 GCSEs. My mental health deteriorated and I was referred to CAMHS. I waited 22 months for my first appointment, and at the age of 17, I was finally diagnosed with autism, dyspraxia and anxiety. I had a few appointments with CAMHS and then I was discharged due to my age. There was no follow-up or transition to adult mental health services. Things were pretty tough and my world was very small. A chance meeting saw me invited to a SEND dance group. I was nervous but agreed. I met Celine, and using creative art, she slowly and patiently helped me improve my self-esteem and self-belief. It was the best thing I ever did. I helped set up the Wirral Send Youth Voice Group. We wanted to help other SEND young people have their views listened to and make changes so other young people could have a more positive experience within services. I'm a peer educator and love being able to support less confident SEND young people. I remember what it felt like, and it's a great way for me to give someone else what Celine gave me: support, belief and time. 3 years ago, our youth voice group had a visitor. We're made up when professionals come to see us in our safe space. We're really excited to meet her. I'd like to use this time to stress how important it is to you to go and see firsthand what your workers are doing. Go and see the impact they're having. Our visitor was Sally. Working in partnership with Celine, Sally has been able to drive the changes we've asked for her help with. Here's a couple of ways we've been supported. Young person M is multi-complex and wasn't accessing her education. Working with support in a creative, informal education setting, M thrived and now attends school daily. Young person S aspired to dance, but their significant visual impairment meant no one would take the chance. We did, and he's about to graduate with a first-class degree in dance. Better still, we arranged a disability employment event, and the Chamber of Commerce have offered to fund and support setting up a dance school in Wirral for S to run. We appreciate just being listened to, but when we see positive change happening around us, then we feel we're finally making progress. As they say, actions speak louder than words, right? By working collaboratively, we have seen so many new opportunities and so many wonderful and in some cases like mine, life-changing. Sally recognised the value of having a constant strand of youth voice involved in the local offer and arranged for me to go and work alongside her. My role is to be a SEND ambassador and champion youth voice across the SEND provision, future and present. I love it. And I say on the daily, I'm living my best life. Short breaks and youth offer reviews, SEND consultation exercises, reviewing council policies and pathways are just few of the tasks I've been involved in. I deliver a programme of engagement in Wirral schools and use my experience to connect with other SEND young people. We didn't see COVID-19 coming, but thankfully, because Sally invested the time and developed in me, I can work independently off her. A year in and my confidence is growing month on month. This has meant during lockdown, we've been able to both support and respond to the emerging needs of Wirral SEND families. I used my SEND experience and my own anxieties to shape our COVID-19 response. I started a twice weekly blog. I've sourced easy read resources. I've been a peer educator at our regular online sessions. I've had an article published to inspire other young people to raise their aspirations, and I've chaired the North West Euphoria meetings to maintain contact while key staff were furloughed. I've analysed the recent SEND consultation feedback given by the 253 young people I met with prior to the lockdown, and our next chapter looks really exciting. I feel that a great deal of the progress being made in Wirral is because we have strong, capable leaders who just get it. SEND is high on the agenda, and our SEND Commissioner, Sue Talbot, and Chief Executive Pulse Tor are very supportive and involved. It's making a difference, so thank you all.
Thank you, Poppy. We've talked a lot. I don't want to use up all the time because I'm conscious there may be some questions, but I suppose in terms of key messages, all good speakers like to just sort of wrap up and just make sure that you're taking the salient points away. So mine to you would be to listen. Can't emphasize how important that is. That's not that's to everybody, to all stakeholders. Clearly our young people often have no filter, which is great because there's no sort of standing on ceremony. We hear it how it is, but to take the time to listen, especially during times of uncertainty as we're in now, is absolutely key. To not be judgmental seems to be a springboard for success as well. Not to make assumptions, because so easily done. We think we're doing the right thing, but that's not necessarily the case. And from experience, to realise that you can still achieve and you can still be creative and get results, even with limited resources. For sure, it takes time, it takes more effort. It certainly involves a huge dollop of passion to be able to get to the finish line, but it can be done. We have done it on very little, and whilst we still have a lot more to do, we're getting there. I would say don't wait for a solution to find you. You go out and find it. It involves going above and beyond a lot of the time because there's often so many barriers, but we can't afford to just give in the first time something comes our way, second, third time, because at the end of this, we're all doing what we do because we care deeply about making SEND provision the very best it can be for our young people. So anything short of a dogged determination approach isn't going to do it. Involve everybody. As I say, I'm taking over leadership on co-production in Wirral. I'm really excited to do that because COVID-19 has given us a really good platform in terms of engagement across the board to be able to do that. And at the end of the day, we should all be co-producing everything. It should be that thread that runs through everything that we do. Sadly, that's not always the case, and it's almost like some newfangled conception. We can simplify it. Just think practically, who do we need to consult with? Who do we need to talk to? It needn't be fancy. It's just a simple conversation, and keep that communication line open. So that brings me on to communication. Again, little and often the SEND snapshots, drip feeding information, just dispel that sense of wonderment and that leaving people hanging. To hear things little and often, most people from our experience seem to be glad of, rather than, oh God, here she is again telling us something else. They would much rather have that, and it builds up rapport, and they feel comfortable to approach you with with whatever the query is, whether they think it's something they should know. They're comfortable, and if they're asking the question, that's because they want to do right by the child in their care. So again, we've all got time for that. Taking negative feedback, not as negative feedback, but as an opportunity to improve. It's not a criticism. It shouldn't be a personal slur. It's hard when it's been a team of one or now a team of two, that you do maybe take things to heart because you are endeavouring to do your best. But every bit of feedback is an opportunity for us to improve what we're doing, and I think we've had opportunity to do that. COVID's given us space to do that, and maybe take a step back from where we were working, going around on our usual hammy wheels. We've been able to just take a step back, listen, engage, and we've been able to make some quite significant changes. And really, as Poppy said, and she wouldn't say it if she didn't mean it, I can tell you that for nothing, to take time out of your busy schedules, those of you who are commissioners, those of you responsible for putting for looking at SEND provision, for adapting what you have so it's meeting current need, not perceived need, to go out there and actually see what the workers are doing in your, under your remit, because I think it will be invaluable for you, and it may well be that you see things that you recognise need to change. It's not always going to be a bed of roses, and we have to adapt and evolve continually, but I think it would be a really useful thing for you to do. I know when our commissioners have been down and engaged with the group, they've sort of struggled to find time initially, but when they have, they come back time and time again. And as Poppy alluded, we have the chief executive who has been down to the theatre, and Poppy's smiling now because she's got a lot of time for Paul Sator. He's got a lot of time for her, and that's quite an unusual scenario, isn't it, for a relatively new junior young member of a large council to be noticed by your chief executive. So that's as much as I think we should be saying. Saskia's appeared, so I think that's my cue to shut up. So back to you, Saskia.
Brilliant. Thank you all so much. That was a fantastic session and really useful. We haven't got much time for questions, but just very quickly, there have been quite a few requests as to whether you would share the SEND snapshot with people as a kind of example as good practice, Sally. Is that something you might be able to do?
I would love to.
Fantastic. Yes. And very quickly, there was just a question about whether you're getting updated information from health teams regarding COVID-19 restoration plans and whether that goes into the local offer.
The restoration plan's not. I'm aware from attending my own SEND team meetings that the restoration plan is a piece of work that needs quite a bit of input from Wirral. It's something that our DCO and DMO are working on now. So we're just coming to the point where we will become involved in that, but our involvement from lockdown to date is, as I've just outlined, basically getting engagement and feedback as to what our health services can deliver, how they've adapted, any signposting to what parents or schools can be doing to support our children and families the best they're able to when face-to-face meetings aren't possible. But restoration is on the cards, and our new friend Sam, I can't remember where Sam's from, but Sam's going to probably be on my radar if she doesn't mind, because I think we could do with a bit of help with that, or a bit of sharing of best practice there. Anything else I can help with?
We can send through any kind of other questions, sure. And also just to say we'll be writing this up as a case study, so all of the other brilliant things that are coming out of your work we can share with everyone else. And just one final thing is we're going to put an evaluation form for the whole day in the chat, and it would be brilliant if people could take just 2 minutes to fill that out. It would really help us out. So thank you all so much for coming, and thank you particularly to Poppy, Sally and Celine for a really useful and quite inspiring session.
Thanks, Saskia. Thanks so everybody. Take care.
The link should be in the chat now, so do just take a couple of minutes. Thank you, everyone. Right.